Hello, I'm Dom Conlon, and I write books like this one. It's called Leap, Hare, Leap, and it's illustrated rather beautifully by Anastasi Izlesou. As you can probably guess, it's all about hares. Now, when I say the word hare, what do you picture? Do you picture something like this, or this, or this? Now, I'm sure no one gets mixed up over the first picture, but the other two, well, lots of people get mixed up between rabbits and hares. Maybe it's the big ears, the big bums, the lolloping through fields. But hares and rabbits are really very different. When you look at them next to each other, it's easier to spot the differences. The shape is different, the ears are different, and they're both very different sizes. And they're different in other ways too. A rabbit lives in a burrow, a little home in the ground. But a hare lives in a farm, which is like a shallow dip in the land. And that's because both creatures are born in very different ways. The rabbit is born without fur and with its eyes closed. But the hare is born ready to run with fur and eyes wide open. And that's another difference. If something comes along wanting to eat the rabbit, then she'll try to hide. But the hare will run away. And perhaps you can see why. If one animal is born in a safe, warm burrow, and one animal's born out in the open, which do you think needs to be ready to run away as quickly as possible? That's right, it's the hare. Now, a baby hare is called a leveret, and a baby rabbit is called a kitten or a bunny. And the reason I wrote Leap, Hare, Leap is because I was so curious about hares. And I discovered that many people, even those who knew what one looked like, didn't know that they can also look like this, or this, or this, or these. Hares can be found all over the world. I live in the UK, and so this is the hare I usually see. But if you're from America, then maybe you've seen a hare which looks like this. It's even got a different name, the jackrabbit. A jackrabbit. But don't let the name fool you. It's a rabbit. It isn't a rabbit, it's a hare. In Japan, you might see one of these, a Japanese hare. And if you live in Greenland or the Arctic, then you might see the Arctic hare. Well, probably not, because I imagine seeing a white hare in the snow is pretty hard. Now, there are lots of different types of hares, as we've already seen. Even here in the UK, there's another type called a mountain hare, and you might see one of those up in Scotland. It's smaller than the one I'm more familiar with, but it's still a hare. And in the winter, its fur turns white, and that's something else I wanted to show in my book. I wanted to show how different types of hare, and we can use a different type of word for this word here, we can call them species. Different species of hare have adapted to where they live. So think about it. If you lived somewhere where the only thing for dinner was Brussels sprouts and cabbage, then you'd adapt pretty quickly to enjoy them. You'd be popping down the shop for a cabbage lolly or munching on a sprout pizza. Well, hares, all animals really, and humans too, us, we adapt, and not just for food. If we live somewhere cold, then we adapt to keep warm. If we live somewhere hot, then we adapt to keep cool. If we keep getting eaten by one type of animal, then we learn pretty quickly how best to avoid being eaten. In Leap, Hare, Leap, I also wanted to share some of the wonder I feel when I see one of these creatures. I feel as though I'm seeing something magical in the landscape, something mystical. That's a better word, isn't it? Mystical. I think it feels like a mix between magical and mystery. Mystical. But facts are really important to me. I love science and I love the natural world, but the words I use to describe it are just as important. I want to choose my words with care. And in this book, I hope you'll find some lovely words and some new words. So maybe you'll read the book and start thinking about those words and start thinking about hares and the world around them. Maybe you'll learn some new things about hares and go off and find out even more. And maybe you'll want to write a poem or a story about them or draw a picture. Or perhaps you'll design your own special species of hare. Like, what would a hare look like if it lived in a volcano or underwater or in space? And remember, it all begins by being curious enough to take a leap into learning.